So, hello. This is a very late join to a match between International Master gsvc and National Master ArtofDeception. We're joining in game 8. That looks like he wants to distract that knight and then take here. So that's not what happened. But he does manage to win that center. Okay, so we're up to the live position. That's not. And we have CIW watching. CWC, haven't seen that in a while. In this, black is never going to get an attack for a while. This is great. I've never seen CIW commentating. So he means white has easy at h6 stuff and the f5 square for the knight. Okay, not anymore. Okay, so that's an interesting move. So he's trying to waste white's time, but this doesn't really make much progress. Simply takes back. And CIW, isn't there knight d2? Isn't there knight d2? Oh. So takes, knight d2 stuff. That's what he's thinking. Ooh, okay. So if takes, yeah, that is annoying, isn't it? You'd have to take with a bishop. Takes, and then have to take with the queen. So he didn't see that, though. And then CIW, oh no, the queen checks first. Ah, intermezzo move, yes. So if bishop takes knight, you have a nice intermezzo check before you take back with the pawn. Ooh, nice spot from CIW. I wouldn't have seen that. So good to see his input there. I could not resist knight at g7. So he takes here, puts pressure on f6. And in here, does bishop takes knight do anything? I guess... Huh. Black is toast here, says some of the comments. Okay, so you're going for the queen h8 mate. Pretty hard to stop. Yeah, if you sack your bishop at h6 and queen at g7 will mate. So you have to go bishop takes g7 to stop the mate, but you could put a piece, if you had a knight or something, you could put a knight on h8 and takes. Or bishop takes g7, takes, then you have to take with the king, and what just happened there? Whoa. Okay, that was quite crazy. Okay, so this shambles of a stream. Get stuck. I'll have a quick look at some of the earlier games, but clearly gsvc took a game to get warmed up, and he's now on a roll. Now, game 9. And just to say, because I did see game 1, gsvc was playing sort of fianchetto stuff and got killed on the dark squares. So then ever since that point as black, he's playing a much flatter structure without opening himself to obvious weaknesses. Oh, he's allowing at h3 stuff again. So only one pawn in hand, so that's actually quite an annoying move. Because you're wasting your one pawn to basically get a really solid structure. But it means you don't have that pawn for h3. So I'd be curious what is the best move in that position. So in particular, I was pondering even the craziness of taking that bishop and dropping on h3, and I think that's too much. Queen is not, you can't, a piece plus initiative is not quite enough for a queen. That's the sort of balance. Maybe a piece and pawn and initiative, and then it might tip in your favor. Piece and initiative is not quite enough. So white doesn't have the extra piece, but he has the extra pawn. Unfortunately, he's gone and spent this pawn on c4, but it does have that's not a bad thing, to be honest. You're going to have to go something like knight takes bishop, but then there is pressure coming in. Hang on, knight takes bishop, takes back, or bishop takes, yeah, knight takes bishop probably takes back, and then there's threats of bishop takes knight and pawn takes pawn. Okay, I didn't see this coming, so just winning a pawn. Oh, okay, so he's giving up a piece just to get a really solid structure. It's a solid setup, I have to say. But the center is what's strong, so you don't really want to castle queenside. So it's strong, but then this file is liable to open. Ooh. Okay, so looking at this eventually. Queen takes, okay. Bishop takes knight, so that's going to land here eventually. You don't want a queen trade, because queen here will be mating you. So knight here is actually seriously annoying. Unless you have a very strong and very fast counterattack. So there could be like even crazy moves like at d7 and knight at f8. Even such crazy looking moves could actually be quite strong, or even knight at f8 straight away, unless there's a direct something on the white king. Knight at f8. But yeah, this looks more obvious. Knight at c5. The advantage of knight at f8 obviously is the bishop then continues to control. Now, yeah, this is the problem though. This is the problem. Yeah, there was a direct mating attack, which makes anything like this a really bad idea. Okay, so what's the finish with a bishop in hand? Let's see, queen here. Oh, queen here can't go because the queen is pinned. That's mate. And if you'd step back, then he had a bishop in hand, right? And that would be mate. Just out of curiosity, at the point when this point here, what is the strongest move for black? That was the puzzle. At f6, yeah. And just as a sign, this sort of thing is you're giving up too much if you do stuff like this. Already it's +8 for white. So it's just sort of sensitivities of yeah, piece and pawn sometimes is enough for a queen, just a piece not really enough. Hi there, Pethadine, aka Afgala. So GSVC, yeah, playing quite solid there. Just with the, I like that formation with the double pawns, double C and F pawns, and the king in the center. But then it was very important in that final position, before things got hairy, to actually execute the mate with the two knights, knight at f3 and knight at h3. It's nicely done. So knight at c5 was horrible. Yeah, knight at c5. It wasn't recognizing that defense was needed in that position. Yeah. Which, it was very tempting just to go straight for the attack. I was tempted myself by it. And hi there, Santro Pedro. The engine numbers are hard to interpret in Crazyhouse. They oscillate a lot. Yeah, but you can get a sense. So the reason they oscillate is just because it hasn't. Okay, so the real reason why it oscillates hugely is because a move would be good, except that the opponent has mate in 10. So the reason they oscillate a lot is because sometimes they think, oh yeah, white is winning, and then they suddenly notice black has a mate in 10, and they go, oh, oh, oh. Really? Just hanging this? Okay, that's surprising. Because he could have just gone rook c1 to defend. Okay, interesting. So notice what is he giving? He's losing a pawn and a queen for 2 pieces. Interesting. So that's true, especially if it's like you know, tricky looking mates which involve sacking a lot of material. And so the engine doesn't necessarily calculate them correctly. Yeah, they played a normal opening, pretty much. So it's pretty much a normal opening. Just not in this position, you'd expect f3 but instead he did this. And against this, you might also just go back. No, you don't go back. Sorry. You could put another knight here, maybe. Bishop takes. You could reinforce in this sort of position, but he just ignored. He just went. He decided to go for the imbalance, which is probably a bit risky, to be honest. So I reckon it's objectively okay for black, but maybe I'm wrong here actually. Queen and pawn for 2 pieces. I think queen and pawn is slightly better than 2 pieces, but because it didn't really get initiative either. It was queen and pawn 2 pieces and black to move. So CIW saying the last game actually white was winning. Amazing. Okay, so this is just asking to be played, but this is really annoying. So maybe you shouldn't play it. Oh, but this is check though. King takes pawn, rook here. Oh no, you don't. What? Well, that is ballsy. Let's say that is ballsy. Why would he do that? Maybe he was thinking just throw in if king f8, throw in a check and pawn at g7. Okay, sorry. What this game is really not recognizing. What actually happened here? Takes, takes, takes. Oh, I see. He's throwing in a check first, and then he's taking the queen. Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, I see. I just have no clue what's happening here. This is not very helpful commentary. I mean, queen here takes his threat, but rook takes knight. So king takes pawn, rook takes knight. What do we have here? Yeah. Takes knight. Seems perfectly good for white. Just grab the material. What are you going to do? Takes, takes. What are you going to do with a knight or a rook? We can always block the H file here. Okay, yeah, that's true. That's annoying. Okay, there must be something we can do here. Oh, very nice. Yes, go straight in for a mating attack. This is going to be lethal. So this square, notice, is blocked off by this knight. That's all that knight is doing. Can't move, but it's blocking off that square. Ooh, this bishop is also blocking this off. So all you can do is maybe step up. But then you just have... Yeah, what is the mate when you step up? And so, yeah, that's the final game, and ArtofDeception resigns. Okay, gosh, my tactical analysis is not here. King here, what's the mate? At c5. At c5, and so the idea is queen here, check, knight here, checkmate. So he has to take it. Takes, king c5, queen, here's checkmate. Yes. Okay. Okay, so since I missed the entire thing, let's just let's open up the first 7 games or so, and we'll just have a quick play through them. I meant to open it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, first 7 games. Having said that, game 9 was also really interesting. So let's put that as well at the end. Okay, so game 1, basically, and I'll put the engine on so you can kind of see what was going on. This is the sort of thing I'd play as white against an under 2000. I mean, it's the sort of thing I'd play as white and try and get it under against an under 2000 players. Try and get this pawn at h6. So I was quite surprised gsvc allows this, because I mean the basic plan is you get a piece on g7, then you try and look for a rook to put on h8. Pastine asking when is the next league? Don't know that. Not really sure when people will want it. I think there wasn't that much energy for the main 60. I think maybe attention is on the World Championship, and so I'm not sure when it will be. I think somehow we've lost a little bit of the energy, but maybe after the Crazyhouse final between Opperwaisen and Jasugi 99, then maybe the energy will come back to start again. Of course, just simply threatening mate on h8, takes, and yeah, white's doing very nicely here. I mean, he's still got this issue. Oh god. So this is trouble. Just picking up diagonals, and I'm not sure if he finished it in the cleanest way, but he did eventually get the mate with queen at h8, a rather strange looking mate. So that was game 1. ArtofDeception wins. Game 2, I think he played. So I remember in this position, Nicholas Theiss Atrophied always used to play this to try and just be as annoying as possible and force queen e7 so the queen knight could get out. But okay, going for this. Yeah, this is interesting actually. Knight, where's the knight going? Let's see where the knight's going. So going for f4. Okay, so he's developed a knight here because he wants to push f4. Let's see what the engine thinks. Yeah, it's quite happy. Okay, so obviously there are threats of queen h5, queen takes h7 kind of ideas. So that's all blocked off with f6, f5. Ooh, just backs off. So it's a not quite sort of chessy looking position. King to h1, that seems to suggest that's the sort of move you'd want to do if you want to put your rook eventually on g1, but that's not going to happen for a while. Okay, he chases the knight away, fianchettos the bishop. Oh, okay. So now in this position, I think that must be a mistake at f7. Apparently it's not really a mistake, but at f7 it sort of takes away control of this square. So you get in on f6. You're looking for a bishop. Oh, we're just going to go for a pawn. Okay, just goes for a pawn. Could even take the bishop, but okay, just Apparently, still not doing that great. Yeah, he should have taken the bishop. Knight takes bishop, rook takes, and then pawn at f6. But okay, he goes pawn at f6 first, and then he wants more pawns by the looks of things, or else he wants this. I'm not quite sure why, because this is you never want to trade off this piece. It's a very important defender. So okay, bishop d4 takes. Yeah, this is worrying because you're almost letting black challenge your very important diagonal. This diagonal is very important for white. That's why it's slightly sensitive. Very important to take with the knight because you need to control this diagonal. Okay, so this is okay. We're still controlling just about, but it's looking a bit hairy. Bishop at d5 check takes the knight. Okay, we're still in control. That was a good check, by the way. Just with tempo controlling this diagonal. And black doesn't even have a pawn because that was a really good check because not only is it a great check because now this square is trebly protected, but also it wastes the pawn. So okay, he wins the queen, takes the rook. Oh, so this square is again very tender, but it's white to move unfortunately. So pawn here check, rook here, and he resigns because takes queen here, rook here will be mate. So a real grind from in game 2. How do you do in game 3? Notice he switches it up. He doesn't play g6 and fianchetto stuff. He plays this sort of a much flatter structure. Doesn't want to create weaknesses. It's much better. I'll turn the engine on again. Just trades queens and okay, a flatter structure, but black doesn't really have anything. So if I'm just looking at this position here, yeah, look, white's +4. It's not really great. Bishop d6. Yeah, he's really struggling to work out what to do. At f6, and great play from ArtofDeception though, just pushing that counter. Ouch. Knight here. Okay, so what should white play here? Queen takes g2, knight takes g2, bishop g5. So give away the queen, say my king is safe for now, and threaten. I can't quite see exactly what the threat is. Knight here check, knight here check. So I can't see the mates, but let's just see. What's the mate if I just do this? It's knight f6, takes, king takes pawn, and some very long-winded mate, basically. So there is takes, king takes, knight d5 check, king here, with another knight f6, and then pawn here checkmate. So or bishop here checkmate. Okay, so that's the threat that would have been stronger for white. So this is a critical mistake actually from ArtofDeception. Something which, yeah, it's something under 2,500 players make too much. They move their queen around too much, and a mistake John Lee doesn't make. He knows how to give up his queen. Okay, and so it ends up that he's still doing very nicely though. King takes g2, knight takes g3, takes. It turns out this is a critical mistake, which is painful. He had to go knight at f6, king takes e7, pawn d6. I don't know, go for some kind of attack somehow. That's harsh. And the idea being that king can never take this knight because then you have pawn takes knight with check. So these sorts of ideas. So pawn at d6 is actually quite strong then. But pawn takes knight allows mate, and gsvc finds it. The point is if you block here, bishop here, and queen here is checkmate. Or if you step up, queen here is checkmate. So very simple mate. Almost out of nowhere. So that's a bit cruel. That's a little bit cruel, that game, because ArtofDeception is doing well. So knight takes knight is coming, so you might as well get something for it. And this is the idea. Pawn d6, you don't want to take here because then this comes with check. So you have to do this. So this is actually even forced mate. King c7. What's the mate? king takes d6, bishop f4, king e7, knight d8. Knight d8. Is it knight d8 here? Knight d8. No, but the king will run here. Okay, I'm not seeing. Bring another bishop in. Bring another bishop in, because then we're taking. That's got to be strong. King b7. Yeah, that looks good. And now knight at h4. What? Black's got mate. Oh, black's got mate. Okay, I so much for understanding this position. I thought white had mate here. So I have to. White does have mate here. Just you have to be accurate. Okay, so king takes d6. Okay, it's not bishop at c5. It's bishop f4 is important. Okay, you cut off the king. Okay, king e7, king d7. Sorry, king e7. Knight at g8. Okay, and the point is, if you do this, then bishop h6, pawn at g7, and bishop at e7 will be checkmate. So you have to take it. But if you take it, then okay, if you take the knight, rook here is checkmate. So you want to block. And blocking with the pawn is no good at all, because you just get bishop here check, king here, and rook here is checkmate. Or king takes knight, rook here is checkmate. But there's an annoying move, which is black could block with a bishop, and that makes the mate a little bit more complicated. But there is still a mate apparently, with rook at d8. So he has to block with something. If he blocks with the queen, you just take it, and queen here is checkmate, so that's no good at all. So knight here. Okay, so now we have to mate with the bishop. So bishop at e7, king takes knight, rook takes knight. And again, we only have to block with either a knight or a queen. Blocking with the queen is going to be trouble because of knight at f6, and then taking the queen, and queen at g8 is checkmate. Or if the bishop takes just there, it's checkmate. So you have to block with the knight. Now, what's white's mate here? If knight at f6, why not knight at f6? Knight at f6, yeah, knight at f6. Okay, you can't take it because this is checkmate, so you have to go here. Then bishop takes bishop, king takes bishop. Bishop takes knight with check, and again, you can't go here because always here, and takes is checkmate. So you have to step up. You can either go here or here. Taking the knight seems logical, but white's still got a knight and a bishop in hand to continue this attack. But the moment you take the knight, though, you got this stuff opening up, and so you're finished. So I think you have lots of blockers, but white's got too many pieces. So I think this makes more sense to give it a go. Knight h4, king g5, f4, king takes h4, h takes g3 is checkmate. Oof. And if we try and step back, oh yeah, we can't step back here because of this. So yeah, this is a. So if you ever take this knight, then you have pawn this one taking. Oh, but in this position we could take this one, but then bishop at g5 is checkmate. Okay. Okay, so ArtofDeception actually missed mate in this game, but a really tough mate with knight at f6 here. So it's like mate in 16 or something, as we saw. Knight at f6, mate in 19, So mate in 20 probably from the original. Mate in 20 missed by ArtofDeception. You can't miss mates in 20 against gsvc. You're going to lose. Okay, so then game 4 is we had a fianchetto set up, but notice how this bishop is not hitting h3, so it's quite safe, and goes for a quite unusual just c4 d4 sort of structure. And again, well, I mean, black's doing not so badly. He's won the central pawn. If I look at the engine, I'm sure black's not doing too badly. I don't know. White's doing okay apparently, but certainly uncomfortable. He's getting some play on. Black's certainly getting some play on this diagonal. But okay, it's too much now. He just needs a knight or a rook to finish things off. So he's chasing a rook. He's chasing a queen trade because queen h8 is mate. He just sacks and he's just going for a rook basically, and the rook can't be hidden. The rook cannot be hidden any longer. I mean, if you just try and hide the rook, well, you have a knight now, so yeah. Rook and knight mate, so it's a very kind of classic setup. So he basically did to ArtofDeception the kind of things that ArtofDeception did to him in game 1. That was a good revenge, that one. Next game. Okay, I think gsvc is slightly warmed up this one. This is a much nicer setup for black. I feel like he's got a much nicer structure than he did in previous games. He's willing to give up the queen. Wow. Bishop takes f3. But so in this position here takes. I see, yeah, because if you give up the queen, you're taking here, and that's really nasty. So, and he did. It turns out there is a queen trade. Check. King takes d7. Knight c5 runs away. Okay, and this is actually really nasty because how do you defend against simply knight at h3 and smothered mate? In these sorts of positions, something like queen h3, I think that's quite instructive. You just have to get your queen on in these sorts of positions. But the problem with that is the opponent does something like this often. But okay, this doesn't work in this position because of this. So yeah, actually, it's actually holding, vaguely holding, actually, at least for a little bit. So, but this no good at all. Just takes here, threatening mate, and white just resigned. There's nothing you can do. If he takes the bishop, the knights come in. So that was a quite straightforward win for gsvc. And now this is game 6, I believe. So just the game before. And again, ArtofDeception is getting quite good. Getting pressure on the, getting good quite well. Okay, so I was thinking he was getting pressure, but yeah, I guess it's not. It isn't really anything because this square is too well controlled. Like you even just push. Yeah, but he doesn't push. And okay, so yeah, so white is actually doing really well here. I was afraid for a sec on f2, but nah. And in fact, in this position as black, he just resigned because his bishop's getting trapped. The knights are just swarming into these dark squares. I guess black said, I don't know what to do to improve my position. If I just show bishop takes h4, knight takes, pawn here, king here. This is the. I think that's the problem. Is black just. It's a really weird kind of position where black is sort of out of moves. He has no pieces and he has no play, and that's why when you just play on with the engine, he's just sacking pieces because just literally doesn't have any moves. It's like a strangulation here. Like black literally just cannot move anything. Just look at black's position here. I mean, king h8 or something. It's just about the only thing you can do. Takes. So takes. You're losing this pawn is a slight problem. But if you take this way, the problem is, yeah, bishop at h6 could be an issue. Pawn at h6. So this is actually quite pretty. King takes h7, and then boom, bishop takes, knight takes. And the point is, if you ever step back, pawn here is checkmate. But if you don't step back, you're losing the queen, and that's not going to end well for you either. Just simply knight steps back, and wherever you go, queen at g7 mate. So that's what would have happened that game had it continued. That was quite a good example of how to strangle an opponent. So he has absolutely no moves left. It's quite a. Okay, this is then game 7. Ooh, he just doesn't want to trade at all. I was thinking taking on e5 in this position was a very natural thing to do, but bishop f5 just doesn't want to give white any material. Yeah, I think that's what gsvc does. He's quite good at strangling the opponent, just positionally just strangling them. That's when he does that, you know he's playing well. Ooh, okay, rook f7 surprised me. But yeah, so the obvious thing here to do is actually takes, and just keep going. So this isn't anything for now. But actually, okay, white's actually winning this. I didn't realize. Because, so, yeah, well, okay, this is quite shocking. So white was winning this, and just needed to continue the attack, knight at g5, and so on. Bishop at h5 apparently is another strong move. But played pawn at g5, which doesn't look completely terrible. But now he takes this pawn, and what's the problem with this? So if there's a queen trade, if you block the queen, so black is forcing a queen trade, and g2 is sensitive. And suddenly black is completely winning, and white resigns. Well, this is really painful. This is really, really painful. And that's why, so in this position, okay, so why did it not work and move sooner is what I'm kind of wondering. Because takes, why couldn't we have done, say, queen takes pawn here? So if it were this way around, then white is actually winning because of this, because of knight at h6 at the end of the line. Okay, yeah. And then he gets the smothered mate. So obviously if you take the knight, queen here is checkmate, and if you sidestep, then queen at g8, classic smothered mate. So this is actually really instructive. So rook at h7 was really smart actually, because it means the queen trade suddenly favors black if you don't. So now if you go knight at g5, if now we go knight takes bishop, check, queen takes pawn, queen takes d5, pawn takes. This key move, knight at g5 rather than pawn at g5, has suddenly changed everything. Because knight at h6, why can't we just take it? And then this is the only move. Okay, knight at d7 also works, but basically this is the why knight at g5 is brilliant. Queen at h8, king takes, knight takes rook, king here, knight takes h6 I imagine, king here, and rook here is checkmate. And if you go into the corner, then we have a smothered, we have this, or if we're being very fancy, we have a smothered mate. No, we don't. We don't have a smothered mate. Because rook takes rook is check back on us. So that would be but we're still winning by a miracle because we have at g7, which is just hilarious. Takes, and then rook at g8. Okay, so that's that. We'll just have a quick look at this game, game 9, gsvc 1, and CIW is giving some very interesting commentary. With this fortress structure in the center, but this diagonal is annoying, and black doesn't have that much in hand, so white is doing quite well. Takes. So up to here, white's still plus 11. Knight at f8, this is the move I was suggesting earlier. So in this position it's actually really good. Knight at f8. But instead, knight takes bishop, queen takes this knight, takes. And this is a key position. Knight here, losing move. It hung mate, and so gsvc, yeah, really well done finding this mate. And there is no, the king is just, yeah, there's nothing. If the king notice if the king, the point is if the king steps back, this is checkmate. So this is a really nice mate. You just walk the king into you can take the rook, but you're stuck. Having said that, this is a really critical position. White to play. You have to defend this square. So bishop at e2 defends it. Pawn at e2 defends it. Knight at f3 even, just dumping a knight here is good. Like, if you take my knight, then actually I'm mating you. Queen at e7. So just knight at f3, yeah, that's a really creative defense. So how to do something defensive. And if you wanted to do the sort of knight f8 type idea, it had to be done in this position. So this is just really annoying. Because then you're taking here and going... I mean, so if you did just pawn here, then you could be going knight 8 takes e6. And if you take back, you might potentially have pawn at d7 ideas. What am I talking about? This queen's en prise. Where do I put... Okay, that's the problem with this. Where do I put this darn queen? Takes. I was thinking here, check. Here. So this is not necessarily accurate, but I'm just some crazy ideas. Pawn at f7, king here. So queen takes knight, threatening checkmate here. So this would just be a obliteration. But apparently even stronger is pawn at f7, king takes, and using a bishop on g6, and those bishops would be lethal. So king here, pawn at f7, king h8, and now we need, what do we need to mate? Oh, we take with this bishop, freeing up this square for a knight. Okay, so that's how to play. That's how ArtofDeception really should have played this game as white. So what do we see? GSVC very solid, but leaving. He's really good. Leaving it some chance. I mean, ArtofDeception seems to play the opening quite well, but and he gets some really strong sort of attacks on light and dark squares. But yeah, hanging this mate was bad. Turns out, because his position was actually quite good. Knight f3 is a beautiful move to defend in this position. What do you do here? Just rook h8, I guess. Yeah, rook h8, and then we can do nice stuff. Maybe then we can do knight at c5. Then we can do knight at c5. Yeah, and now white's in control. Yeah. So a little bit of a swindle in quite a few of these games from GSVC. Just in a couple of these games, there's ArtofDeception actually had nice positions, but in the end, it's 9 straight games from GSVC. Really, really strong. 9 straight games after losing the first one. Great comeback. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. And if you're new to Crazyhouse, check out my blog for lots of introductory content about Crazyhouse. Check out my YouTube. There are lots of playlists. If you go into my YouTube and look at playlists, lots of playlists on different things. Cool. Thanks everyone for watching. Should I raid someone? I'm not quite sure who is streaming right now. So, but if there's someone I should raid, maybe let me know. Otherwise, that's it from me. I'm just going to quickly check if there is anyone I should raid. I've got no idea what's happening here, but let's just see what's happening. I just saw that Ocasio-Cortez is streaming on Twitch. I'm not allowed to raid. Okay, so she's AOC on Twitch. I don't know what she's talking about, but she's a great speaker, so I'm not allowed to raid, but check out AOC on Twitch. It might be interesting. Maybe I should raid someone else. Maybe I'll raid Boza Vietica again. He's let's just make sure I spelt his name correctly. Boza Vietica 94. Let's just make sure that that's spelt correctly. I think that's spelt correctly. So we're going to raid him. Check out his stream, and you should all follow him because GSVC streams on Boza Vietica every Thursday evening. See you all. Thanks for watching.